Welcome back to the Wasted Wagons podcast. We're about to do a little sample of one of my favorite beers from Brash out of Houston, Texas. This is called Milk the Venom. It's a Russian Imperial Stout.
Patrick Juice.
Definitely not Patrick Juice. I'm sure it's way more tastier than
that was the sake.
Yeah, leave the bull semen out of this. Anyway, everybody's got a cup in front of them with a sample of this, so let's all give it a shot and see what y'all think of it. No. Biff enjoys it.
It's good.
Todd coming around on it.
I think I've had this before.
Travis seems
What were they drinking inside?
bit
It's very good.
up and down on
It's
it.
very motor oily, but you know.
I know you've given me a can of this before. I like it. It's definitely got a if you're not a stout drinker, it's definitely got a strong the strong stout taste to it. A little bit of a burnt taste, almost borderline in Guinness a little bit, but not as burnt.
Maybe
Like that gif of Trump, it's thick.
That's the probably the Chipotle and the cinnamon and the allspice.
Oh, there's Chipotle in here.
Yeah,
I like it.
Not
It's a
the flavor.
solid stout. I think it's very good.
It is the one that Patrick took the picture of the can.
It is very
Yeah.
stout.
Right?
the
It's
the
very
can
stout.
art is really good too. But yeah, for me, it's
Porter and stout logo, yeah. I approve.
it's one of my favorite beers. Probably definitely my top 2-3 favorite from their brewery, and probably top 5 overall. And kind of segue and talk about top 5s. We always do a top 5 somewhere, either in episode or as a side piece. This top 5 is going to be Biff's choice since he's our guest. So Biff, I'll turn over to you, and you can introduce the top 5 that we're going to do today.
Sounds good. All right, top 5. We're doing comedians or comedic actors. So it's kind of a broad range.
Does that
I
include
guess-
females? Comedians?
It's a gender neutral term.
Comedy people?
But,
Top 5 people that make you laugh.
Yeah.
Top 5 people that make you laugh. That's right.
I'm just commenting how I can't keep track of, wait, is everyone called actors now? We still have Best Actress in the Academy Awards, stuff like that.
I don't know. All right, I'm gonna start with an oldie. He's a classic for my top 5. These are I'll do them in order, I guess.
In no particular order.
Wait,
Sorry,
they're in an
I'm
order.
gonna do
right?
them in order.
sorry, Mike, you're not here. I think we all might be doing orders tonight.
You know, I mean, since Mike's not here, we're gonna do in a particular order.
There we go. I like it.
First off is Rodney Dangerfield.
Yeah.
It's a classic.
Very
That
top.
was
He
a
was like-
thought for my list, but he's not on here.
And sadly enough, Chris Farley's not on here.
Ooh,
I made the list.
Nice.
And I'm a Farley nut, but
So
Yeah.
would
it's
you?
an honorable mention.
So yeah. So would you say it's an honorable mention? There you
I
go.
would say
Absolutely.
it's an honorable
I
mention
thought
for,
you
for
were
me.
number one, Biff, but-
I know, yeah. But I was thinking more stand up than movies.
right. Actually, my list is all stand up
Mine's
instead
mostly
of
stand-up,
actors.
so. Second would be David Tell, which is
Okay,
kind of a random
yes.
one. But he's like so quick, like the bumping mic thing he did with Jeff Ross on Netflix. Like it just showed like how quick he could be.
Yeah.
Just making up stuff on the fly, and I respect guys that can like add like improv really quickly. Third would be Will Ferrell, which like I'm a retarded Anchorman fan. Sorry, I said retard.
This is Frank Ricard.
Frank Ricard.
Not
From
retarded.
old
Not
school.
retard,
I have
Ricard.
a story about old school. I rented it so much, my girlfriend bought me the DVD for Christmas from Blockbuster. She's like, you've rented it 7 times. It's like you could have bought this 4 times, but so she bought me old school.
Before we move on from Will Ferrell, though, I think it's important to point out that I think sometimes when he's in his kind of like the shotgun kind of co-star, not necessarily the leading man, he's actually at his
Side
best.
piece.
Like I don't like,
Sometimes,
like
I mean, yeah.
like
I
if
mean,
you take what is it, Wedding Crashers, for example, when he screams out, "Ah, me no, fuck!" I mean, like that's just one of the things. Like everybody remembers that scene.
Living the dream.
pretty much.
living the dream. So I crashed a funeral earlier.
What about like old school? He wasn't necessarily a main character in that. He was more like a co-star.
Frank
Frank
Ricard.
He was absolutely great in that movie.
No, he killed it in that movie, and then, but for me, like just my favorite Will Ferrell movie, and this is just saying, it's an aside, it's an addendum to the top 5. is probably the Anchorman series.
I was gonna say why is it Anchorman?
Yeah, why isn't it Anchorman? All right, so two more. Dave Chappelle, for sure. I figured that's gonna be on most people's list. I mean, he's the GOAT, but he's not my top. My top that makes me laugh all the time, Bill Burr.
Yeah.
Every time.
I'm surprised that none of yours were on my list. So
Well,
I was ready to
we're
go.
growing apart.
I was
so-
ready to, but no, I know every single one you said though. I know why, and I remember you talking about them in so much in the past. So
Yeah. So that's my list, and it's kind of So I'd like to hear another Wagoneer.
want me to go next?
Sure.
I thought we shared the same brain, but I guess not as much as now. But
Only when we're talking about slicing necks with hockey.
because I was actually gonna put, is it on the list or not? I was gonna say Gaffigan, but I figured everyone was gonna have Gaffigan, so I was like, that's not really on the list. But Gaffigan's out there. But who's on my list here? I got Mitch Hedberg.
Ooh,
Oh, I forgot about him.
I forgot about Mitch,
Smacking it from.
and I thought of a joke. I was
Smacking
watching
frog.
the podcast. Sorry to interrupt, but
But I'm gonna let you finish.
Well, where he was at he always carried cash. This is like a story somebody was telling on a podcast. He always carried cash and never carried credit cards. So he was at a hotel and they were like, "Oh, sir, you're gonna need a credit card to check in." He's like, "But here's enough cash to cover it. Just I'll be fine, whatever." And then the guy's like, "No, but sir, you don't understand. I need a credit card." He's like, "That's like hiring a Frank Sinatra impersonator." And Frank Sinatra showing up, you're like, "No, I'll take the impersonator instead." It's like the cash actually represents what the card does.
That's not her asshole.
Yeah.
Dang. Because that's why this list was so hard to make, because I think of so many quotes from different comedians that I do love, but it's hard to think of the actual person.
And rest in peace.
Oh yeah.
Because Jeff Foxworthy's not on this list, but one of my favorite lines was like, "Hell yeah, I'll write you a check. I thought you needed money." I say that all the time to this day.
Foxworthy's a legend too.
Yeah.
I like Ron White stuff too. I just
He's my favorite.
For me, I like ranters and Dave Attell rants, Bill Burr rants. Dangerfield just is one-liner after one-liner.
Yeah.
That's just one of those ones that I kind of research.
I feel like Hedberg's one that can make anyone laugh just because of his one-liners and how random some of his jokes are. Is talking about the sesame seed one was one I heard recently when he's like, "How do they stick those on the bun? The back's got to have adhesive. They peel it off and stick it on the plain bun." Just random shit like that.
Or the whole donut and receipt. He's like, "I don't need a receipt for a donut. Why do we have to put paper and ink into this drink?"
Yeah, we have to bring paper and ink into this. But
that's 3.
Yeah. Anyway, going down the list, Louis C.K. I've listened to so much of his stuff, and again, another guy that I quote random things about. I always seem to pull up one of his quotes in conversation. "No, Dad, they're pig Newtons." "No, they're fig Newtons because you're 3 and I'm not a moron." Things like that. But I keep going. Daniel Tosh, of course.
Oh,
I mean, I'm literally thinking in the other room of DVDs I have on the shelf, and I've got 4 of Tosh's, so it's I got to go with Tosh and his show and everything.
Tosh was great. I remember the first time I saw Tosh 1.0 was at his house.
Yeah, it was one of the earlier
It was
stand-ups.
at the old house.
Or when we all got together and watched one of his stand-ups. It was big titties, top shelf, fake, natural titties, beer in a can.
Well, I know when we talked about our top 5 wrestlers, Arn Anderson was my number 1.
Him and Arn.
Calling you out, Arn.
Tosh and Arn have some kind of beef going.
They do?
Yeah.
I didn't know about that.
That's Tasha hates Arn.
Yeah, for some reason, he loves harping on Arn Anderson. It's always in his show. And then who else do I have on the list? Stephen Lynch, of course, the singing comedian.
Yeah.
Good one.
Because I've listened
Close.
to his albums.
gerbil song.
Terrible song, more a bowling song.
Altar boy, confess your sins to me.
Biff, and see why I hate him.
Yeah, you see.
Thank you.
Todd encroached on the mic. Flag.
Yeah. And his
Todd deeper with the mic, it was a
yeah,
balloon
Yeah.
knot.
he hasn't released an album in a while, but his
There was a discussion about the balloon knot.
There was some balloon knot talk at the party.
I missed it. I was.
Why does my name come from that?
You're the leader of the balloon knot talk.
Brigade.
I'm the
Usually.
leader of the clan, eh?
Yes.
Instead of the Foot Clan, it's the
Listen,
balloon
say
knot.
whatever you
I
want.
think it's the Balloon Knot Brigade.
That should be a football team name.
Fantasy
But-
football name.
Fancy football
Sounds
name.
good.
I'll throw out the one honorable mention, and it's probably going to get reamed because the only female I'm sure anyone's going to mention, and everybody hates her, Amy Schumer.
Fucking
Suck it.
Bum, 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 bum.
Seen her live like 3 times.
Boo.
I mean, that kind of reflects an era, into her more when I was married, and I'm not married anymore. But
So you see clearly now, and you know that she sucks. You love her back.
sure, let's go with that. I still like the movie Trainwreck.
Yeah, where she's getting with John Cena.
And John Cena's prosthetic penis.
fucking Not a plausible.
Well, I mean, we've already talked about our love for John Cena on this show, right?
Not.
John Cena.
We love him just as much as we love Sean Payton.
Yeah, well, Bill Hader, though,
Can't see me. Bill Hader was fun.
Yeah,
He was a straight guy.
we have our love for Bill Hader over here,
I know,
our
I love
comedic
Bill.
actors.
Yeah. Bill Hader's one of the best
So
impersonators.
all did mention him in your top 5.
Well, we were
Look at that,
focusing on
top
stand-up,
20.
I guess, if we have to go to actors.
That's how it is about all of them, though. There's always honorable mentions because there's just so many good ones up in
I know.
top 5.
I'm surprised I didn't have Farley in mind. I don't even think I was.
Well, that's what I'm saying. For some reason, I've stuck to stand-up.
That's all right.
I was supposed to
You
say
got
that.
you got him as an honorable mention, so you got some time
All
on the
right,
show.
let's get the.
Sean mentioned that he thought everybody would have Jim Gaffigan in their top 5s. He's actually an honorable mention for me. I had him in my top 5 originally, then somebody else kind of booted him out.
Hey, buddy, I like
I
Gaffigan.
do love Jim Gaffigan.
I like Sky.
I like
We
Skyball.
saw Jim Gaffigan as Mahalia Jackson. He was great.
The where?
Mahalia Jackson Theater. What you think I said?
I don't know what you said. We didn't tell him Mahalia Jackson.
Mahalia Jackson Theater.
Mahalia Jackson.
Shout out to the Brass who used to play the Mahalia Jackson.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Brass, rest in peace.
No,
We
that
miss
was
you.
next
Rest-
door at the
in peace.
municipal auditorium.
Right.
Sorry.
Same difference.
Please come
Different
back.
buildings.
Same difference.
I'm just saying.
I'm going to give Jim Gaffigan.
Anyway, go ahead, Todd.
It's in the same parking lot.
That's the fuck up. I'm going to give Jim Gaffigan.
I didn't want to interrupt. I didn't mean to
Shut the fuck
interrupt.
up. That's this guy right here. All you motherfuckers interrupting today.
Today,
I haven't interrupted that much
Dude.
today. Like I'm
You've been on your
I'm
best
only-
behavior.
I've only got 2
Music
beers
episode,
today.
This motherfucker interrupted every goddamn.
How many beers?
Oh,
How
don't
many
even
beers
interrupt.
deep was I in?
I don't
A
mean to
lot.
interrupt.
I was about
Sorry
6 or
to
7
interrupt.
beers deep with 2 shots. So
I have to say,
Can
I
I finish?
interrupted.
I'll finish.
you can finish. You can finish if you stop banging on the table. Go ahead.
Chewbacca method.
I'll
Continue.
interrupt and say I forgot Gabriel Iglesias. All right, continue.
Fluffy.
fluffy.
So Jimmy Gaffigan gets an honorable mention. Obviously, we saw him at the Mahalia Jackson. Is that how you say it? Is that how you pronounce it? Not Mahalia,
Not
Mahalia.
Mahalia.
Okay,
If-
Mahalia.
If she's dead, rest in
Jackson.
peace.
Rest in
Oh,
peace,
she's probably
Mahalia.
dead.
She's
Speaking of dead people, Mahalia Jackson.
But he's funny. He's always, he's a PG comic. So I think
Yeah.
that
Brian Regan's a good one.
God damn it, Brian Regan. All right, I'm gonna stop. There's too many.
he's a PG comic. But his stuff is great. The 6 Kids Catholic, the Hot Pockets, the Caliente.
Caliente Pocket. We were losing this week.
Just really good stuff. He also did, I think the only reason why you would ever watch the Peter Pan movie on Disney Plus was it called Wendy? Was because he played Smee.
He was Wendy.
Wait, oh,
He was Smee, goddammit! He was Smee. That's the only reason why you'd watch it, because the rest of the movie sucks.
wait, and which
Oh, is
one?
that
The one called
new
Wendy?
Peter Pan.
The one with my cousin is Wendy in that movie?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he's Smee.
I didn't realize that. But yes, that's my little
If you're going to watch
cousin.
that movie, watch it for him. The rest of the movie's terrible. So number 5, I'm going to go with David Spade. I love David
He's a good
Spade.
one. He's a good one.
He's just got that dry, sarcastic sense of humor.
Welcome to Snake Oil. That stupid shit.
Really, I
That's
think-
all.
I-
Long-time member of SNL.
Yeah.
Hollywood Minute. Hollywood Minute was good.
Great in Grown Ups, great in Tommy Boy, great
Great with Farley.
in
Dickie
Black
Roberts.
that's what I was about to
I
say.
like Dickie Roberts. I'm sorry. I
I
don't
was
know.
about to say though, like with the Grown Ups movies, I think David Spade actually probably had one of the funniest characters in that
I like
movie.
they make him a ladies' man in Grown Ups.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's the single guy banging all the chicks.
In real life, he
Young.
gets a lot of chicks.
Well, he's a celebrity.
Yeah, he's a celebrity, so.
You could get a chick with $100 bill hanging out of your zipper. Yeah, I could.
But I love David
That
Spade.
belongs to Squeak.
He comes in at number 5. Number 4, I'm going to go with Biff's number 1, Bill Burr.
Number 4.
Bill Burr is great.
take offense to
Bill Burr can kind of do it all, you know. We saw him live also at the
Mahalia Jackson.
Mahal.
But he's funny. I first stumbled across Bill Burr at a show called Shorties Watching Shorties. Y'all remember that?
Yeah.
Remember the little cartoon segments that stand-up comedians did. They made little
Dane
cartoons.
Cook was on that a lot.
Yes, he was. He was on that as well as Gaffigan.
Which no one mentioned.
I heard it, so I came out.
When I first came across, and Patrick, cover your ears, but it was a segment called Cracker Ass Motherfucker.
Oh, jeez.
His ears are covered. Whoa.
And it was
Patrick's going to be so triggered by that.
It's just hilarious.
Triggered by
you should
everything.
definitely watch it.
Maybe I have seen it already.
But that's the first time I ever stumbled across him, fell in love with his stand-up. Of course, he was in The Mandalorian. Did a great job.
He can do serious accents.
Yeah, exactly.
He
It's
has
not even
good
just
range.
in The Mandalorian. He did kind of like a mixture of serious and comedy. It was great.
Wait, who again?
Bill Burr.
Oh, Bill Burr. Yeah, I was like,
Bill
wait.
Burr's done some serious
My brain was literally like David Spade was in the Mandalorian.
It was Bill
I
Burr.
don't even know this.
I don't speak.
And I'm not wasted. I think I'm just losing it.
I don't think he appeared until it was season 3.
I am saving the vulgar display of power so I can enjoy it like on a Friday podcast and I can get
Absolutely
hammered
tanked. Yeah,
because I need to like
One
do
of
my
them.
laundry after this and it's Sunday night, you know.
But he appeared in, I think it was season 3 that he first appeared.
Do your
character's
laundry.
name
My
was
child is
Dave
home
Beal.
too. So.
I think it was season 2. I don't know. But Bill Burr comes in all 4. He's great. He can do it all.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Hidden Gem was the King of Staten Island. He was in that movie.
Was he? Okay. I haven't seen that yet.
That was really
Speaking of, Pete Davidson's coming here. I'm doing stand up at the Mahalia Jackson Theater, I think.
I mean, I was you know.
I go see Pete Davidson.
Yeah, but I was very impressed.
Oh, you know what? I think Pete Davidson's
Yeah,
actually at the
yeah.
Fillmore. Pete Davidson's coming to the Fillmore. I don't know when. I forget.
Bill Burr comes in at number 4. Number 3, I'm surprised nobody's mentioned him yet. I'm going to go with Nick Swartzen. Nick Swartzen's stand-up is great, but honestly, you know, I think Nick Swartzen kind of ends up making movies, as Travis mentioned Will Ferrell as being the side character. Nick Swartzen ends up making movies as a side character. He was the best character.
He steals the scenes. Yeah, he steals everything he's in.
And Grandma's Boy and Just Go With It. He pretty much stole that movie.
In a car bed, they can talk to other car beds.
Well, the best is I remember listening to commentary on that movie, and it's like most of Swartzen's lines were ad-libbed. He was just riffing, and they just loved. They would die and laughing at the stuff he was
Well, I
coming.
mean, you talk about the movie Just Go With It, the Adam Sandler movie Just Go With It. His portrayal of Dolph Lundgren. I mean,
This is Adolph Lundgren, yes.
I mean, he steals the movie. Like, he's definitely the funniest character in that movie.
Wait, which one was that?
Just go with it.
Oh, yeah. That's what I was like. Yeah, I was just thinking he was awesome in that, and I forgot that's what his name was.
Brooklyn Decker.
Brooklyn Decker.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just thinking the thing with the car bed thing and Grandma's Boy. I remember Covert saying that in that scene where he says "shut up" when he's like face down on the bed. He said that because he was telling Swartzen to shut up in real life, but they kept it in.
Nick Swartzen comes in at number 3. I hope he starts doing stand-up tours again. I'd love to see him in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Number 2, Sean mentioned him. I'm not sure if it was it his number 1. I don't know. Daniel Tosh was my number, comes in at number
Close,
2.
something. Yeah.
Tosh.0, I missed that show yearly. It was so great. We saw him again at the Mahalia Jackson Theater.
Attaboy.
So Bill Burr, Jim Gaffigan, and Daniel Tosh there. But just everything Daniel Tosh said was just hilarious. His Tosh.0 was one of the greatest shows on Comedy Central. I'm mad that doesn't exist anymore. And yes.
Yeah, it had a good run. It was one of the longest Comedy Central shows, I'd say. 10, 11 seasons, something like that.
One of our friends' kids actually made it on there. They were at a trampoline park and they hung on to the beach bar too long and it went back and she slammed against the wall and fell off. And I think his joke was that baby's going to need a chiropractor or something like that. So it was kind of cool to have one of your friend's kids on that show. Meanwhile, you actually really loving the comedian that's hosting that show. Tosh comes in at number 2. Number 1, I'm kind of surprised that neither Sean or Biff mentioned him. And one of my biggest regrets in life is that I had the opportunity to see him in the played at a casino in Lake Charles, and I thought about getting tickets, and I didn't get them.
Oh,
And
I
he
know.
died.
I know who you're going
He
with.
died a year later. Norm Macdonald comes in at number 1.
Yeah,
I thought about
Dirty
it.
Works.
that's a tough one.
Dirty Works in my top 10 favorite movies somewhere, maybe even in my top 5. That movie
Dirty
is
Works one of my
very,
favorite
very much a
movies
hidden
ever.
gem.
Rest in peace, Norm Macdonald.
Norm Macdonald was so great. I mean, even Billy Madison, when he had the side role as his friend Frank, I mean, he was great.
I've got a great joke that Norm told Artie Lang, that Artie Lang told anyway.
Artie
on the
Lang,
Joe
another
Rogan
honorable mention there.
podcast. That
Who is still alive?
who's
Surprisingly.
still alive with his he's
With
the
his-
one
with
who's
his
still
coke
alive.
problem
and
Of the
everything.
two
He had the
people,
coke problem,
in that movie, but Artie Lang's like he got a review after the movie Dirty Work came out that said Artie Lang had all of the charm of a date rapist. And Norm's like, "Hey man, that's great." Artie's like, "No, it's not as terrible." It's like a date rapist has to have way more charm than a regular rapist. That's awesome, man.
To kind of close out on this, though, Norm being my number 1, I mean, if you want to talk about anybody that's like the king of dry humor,
And just
it's
not
fucking Norm
caring.
Macdonald, dude.
We
And
watched a
not
little
caring.
bit. You remember those? I have them over there. Those DVDs from like the late '80s, '90s, whatever it is. And
Yeah.
it was like before. It was probably he was even on SNL, and it's his dry stand up, and people were just like, well, "This
What
is
is
like we don't know how to take this," and it's like we're dying at the stuff because he's just so dry. He's like, "Hey, heard that?" People are like, "What the fuck is wrong with this guy?" Yeah.
All his OJ jokes got him.
Oh, yeah.
OJ did
He,
it,
wasn't
though.
he wasn't he the original host of that? What was that called on SNL?
Oh no, he wasn't the original.
Oh, Weekend Update.
Weekend Update.
He was a
yeah.
Weekend Update.
He was just one of the many.
Was he so long?
He was before Colin Quinn.
Oh.
All right, well, I guess I'll jump in next. A few of the ones that I'm going to throw out there as kind of honorable mentions. I already mentioned that kind of made my list. I'm going to bump them down as I mentioned though. Todd mentioned Nick Swartzen. Nick Swartzen is a guy I'd really love to go see do some stand up. We already talked about his roles and Just Go With It. And a few of the other movies, Grandma's Boy, where he just has these kind of, I call them shotgun characters who are just very funny. Biff mentioned Will Ferrell. Will Ferrell, I mean, this can go back to Night at the Roxbury,
Oh yeah.
old school Anchorman, Wedding Crashers. He's definitely one of the more funny guys on TV. I'm also going to throw out an honorable mention that Patrick said none of us better mention today. But Adam Sandler, have we ever? Has anybody ever? There's not too many bad Adam Sandler movies. I mean, he doesn't make my top 5, even though
Sandy Wexler was pretty terrible.
Little
Sandy
Nicky,
Wexler was
Little
really
Nicky,
bad.
trash.
Little Nicky's
Little
awesome.
Nicky, I like that.
I
Hey,
mean,
buddy, I like
Little Nicky is the shiznit.
Uncut Gems.
If we're talking about bad ones,
Yes.
Sandy Wexler was bad. Spanglish was bad. What was the other one you mentioned earlier, Sean?
Punch Drunk Love.
Punch Drunk
that,
Love.
That
Punch
was
Drunk
that was
Love.
a serious role.
Punch Drunk Love might be one of the top 5 worst movies I've ever seen.
Hold on.
But
Travis, not to cut you off. Adam Sandler
I
in
see
the
what
very
you did there.
beginning, when he was doing the audio CDs and comedy CDs, absolute
Uh-huh.
gold.
I still
That
have- I
was
still have
the
those.
best he's ever done. He had
Piece
some
of
good
shit
movies.
And Billy
My-
Madison and Happy Gilmore were
Great movies.
Great movies.
My issue with Adam Sandler is the end of his
Yeah, I
career,
agree.
which it's tarnishing his body of work overall. But he's incredible. It's just what he's done lately.
No, I feel
You could throw it in the trash, like
I feel
all
that.
of it, the recent stuff.
see, I disagree with that. I think most of the newer stuff that he puts out on Netflix is still pretty good.
Okay.
But I mean, yes, the latest one he put out, "You're So Not Invited to My Bar Mitzvah," was garbage. But he also had a very minor role in that one, so I'm not throwing
That's
that
fair.
But I've seen very few bad Adam Sandler movies. My last honorable mention I'm going to throw out there just because I don't think he's done enough. But like Todd mentioned, Shorty's watching Shorties. The guy's name is Jake Johansson. Jake Johansson will come in as an honorable mention. He had a couple of really good clips on Shorties watching Shorties. He's done some good stand-up. I just don't think he has the amount of material that a lot of the other people
Also
have.
really great on Comedy Central Presents.
Yeah. So like, if he had stuck around a little while longer and got his name out, he'd probably maybe higher on my list.
Holy shit.
But anyway, number 5, I'm going to go ahead and mention this one that Patrick may have him on his list. I don't know. Nobody else has mentioned him, which I was kind of surprised by. But I mean, we go back to In Living Color, Major Payne, Damon Wayans. Like I'm just shocked that nobody has mentioned Damon Wayans. Damon Wayans comes in number 5 for me. Major Payne is a top 5 movie of all time. I really think anything I've ever seen Damon Wayans in, he was just friggin' hilarious.
Only the Clown. And
That's one of his best segments ever. Homer Clown. Blank Man, the movie, was
Blank Man.
incredible.
Like, man.
Me and Travis watch that shit all the time.
So look, I'm trying. I don't know if Patrick has been there, but I'm kind of shocked nobody's mentioned him yet. Number 4, this one's going to be kind of an oddball, and I really do want to see him in stand up if he still does it, because I know he had I believe there was some sexual assault allegations against him a few years ago. But he plays Weasel in the Deadpool movies. His name is T.J. Miller. She's
T.J. Miller. I need to go get that DVD too.
I mean, his role in She's Out of Your League.
I don't even think he's coming back in Deadpool 3.
No, I think they booted him from it. But his role is Stainer and She's Out of My League. I mean, he was easily the best character in that movie.
We need to get together and watch the DVD that me and him love.
I watched Sean a DVD of T.J. Miller's early Comedy Central presents.
Yeah,
it's golden. We need to watch it.
He's awesome. I'd love to see him if he still does the stand-up tour. It's pretty much any movie he's in, he ends up becoming my favorite character in the movie. So T.J. Miller comes in at number 4. I'm going to go with a couple of old school guys here in my top 3, but number 3 is going to be Steve Martin.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many good movies he's done. I mean, Parenthood's one of my favorites. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is a great movie as well. I mean, even if you think back to Little Shop of Horrors, where he kind of played the asshole, he was still awesome.
Orange Scrivello, DDS.
Heather and I just got finished watching, I believe it was the 3rd season of Only Murders in the Building on Hulu.
I grew up watching the King Tut skit. My dad used to show that to me from Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, I know. I saw it at your house.
Condo made a stone up.
So, he and Martin Short have teamed up to do the sitcom Only Murders in the Building. It's another comedy, incorporates a little mystery in it. But yeah, Steve Martin would come in at number 3 for me. Number 2 was mentioned as an honorable mention by Todd. I'm really kind of surprised Sean didn't mention him. I'm going to go with Jim Gaffigan since.
Well, I mentioned him at the beginning, kind of like figuring everybody was going to have him, but
yeah,
I figured Biff would.
We saw him in stand up live, like Todd mentioned. He kind of keeps his comedy a little clean, which is kind of hard to be funny keeping your comedy clean, but he manages to do it.
He does it.
I mean, he had his own show for a while called the Jim Gaffigan Show, which I thought was great.
I thought it was good.
It got canceled after 2 seasons, which
He's
was
got 6
unfortunate.
kids, Catholic.
But he's an awesome stand-up comic. He's awesome in any role he pretty much takes on. Very funny guy. And my number 1, I'm going to go with another old school guy who unfortunately is deceased. But I'm going with John Candy as my favorite. John Candy from.
Sorry, folks. The park's closed.
Barf in Spaceballs. His character in Cool Runnings. The Great Outdoors. I mean, we can just kind of keep going on and on with John Candy. He also was Steve
Buck.
Polka King of the West.
Polka King of the West.
Uncle Buck. Also mentioned with Steve Martin, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. So John Candy comes in number 1 for me.
That's a good list.
I've
got 1 or 2 that you guys have mentioned that I brought in. My list is more. They're comedians, but they're more prominent movie roles for the most part, except for 1 on my list. But my list, I think, is different from most of everybody's list so far. All right, so for mine, I've got a few outside looking ins, a few OLIs to get to before I get to my top 5.
I like that acronym. OLIs.
Thank you.
OLIs.
Yeah. A couple names that weren't mentioned. If you're about our age, you might remember Benny Hill from back in the day with your parents, watching the Benny Hill show. I grew up watching that as a kid.
Wasn't that with the music?
Going to my grandma's house after school before my parents picked me up. Just the Benny Hill show. I don't remember if anybody mentioned Lewis Black.
Nope.
No.
Nobody did.
He's a good one. He's coming to Hard Rock soon, right?
Yeah.
He was here not that long ago, like maybe this year or last year.
The lewdness, the delivery of his jokes, the way he talked with his hands to express a lot of things, he was just funny as all hell to me back in the day. I want to give a shout out to Bernie Mac.
Yeah.
More so his rest in peace. More so his movies than his stand-ups, but his stand-ups were great. Gene Wilder.
Yeah.
Again, my list is more comedians that have really, really good movies than just so much their stand-up, but they also did well with stand-up. But Gene Wilder, See No Evil, Hear No Evil with Richard Pryor, Stir Crazy, Blazing Saddles.
A lot of old school.
I could stay up at Blazing Saddles right there.
Blazing Saddles is probably my favorite comedy of all time. I said Anchorman, but I grew up on Blazing Saddles. My dad is not going to listen to this.
The Sheriff, so what?
Bob, you need to listen, bro.
Dad, you need to come to the Halloween party.
Shout out to Bob Hitchens.
Let's give a shout out to Robin Williams.
Hey.
We talked about him on a couple episodes back when he passed on the anniversary of that.
We talked about his favorite movies, didn't we?
Yeah, his favorite movies. Like Birdcage was one of my favorites. All right, so getting into the top five, I got a 5A and a 5B because they're both great for different reasons, but I still love them, and I can't really pick one. But I gotta have them in. Richard Pryor and Steve Martin.
Okay.
Richard Pryor, he's well known as arguably one of the best stand-up comedians ever. His movies weren't the greatest movies, and he didn't have the best roles in his movies, but he was good in those movies. Steve Martin, start with Sergeant Bilko. I could stop there, but Father of the Bride, Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. Travis mentioned Plane, Trains, and Automobiles. Parenthood. Love most all his movies he's been in. Sergeant Bilko is one of my top 10, 15 favorite movies. It's a great movie. I could quote lines for it. A lot of one-liners are back and forth. Something, are you okay with that, Todd?
Patrick, have you watched Only Murders in the Building?
I have not.
I mean, it's not that great, but I mean, I think Steve Martin.
Have you watched it? It's not that great.
It's not that great, but he's brilliant.
Steve Martin definitely stands out as the best character on the show by far. Martin Short's character gets on my nerves pretty quickly. But.
I thought about going to see them when they came here. It was Steve Martin and Martin Short. The tickets were like $125 just to get in the building.
Right.
You know.
So they kind of co-occupy my number 5. My number 4, and this is probably the one that's more for his stand-up work than his movie work, although he's got some really good roles in movies. It's Chris Rock.
Oh yeah.
His old stand-ups, his very first stand-ups were incredible, like nonstop laugh. Could tell some highbrow jokes, but he really just went with some really funny, dirty stuff.
What was this one in the 90s that was the cover looked like a
Bigger
No Limit
and
record?
Bigger and
Blacker.
Yeah.
Much like Todd.
I had that one burned.
Yeah,
I had that on the disc.
It looked like a No Limit
It looked like a No Limit record. I think, wasn't it on No Limit? Was that why?
I don't know.
It looked like a Silk the Shocker record.
Right.
Chris Rock honestly could have been like an honorable mention for me too. He's like,
Sure.
Right.
Much like Todd mentioned, David Spade. I mean, his role in Grown Ups also kind of goes underappreciated. You know,
he can even do the serious roles. You know, I don't know if you've seen like the prequel to Saw, Spiral. That was actually probably my favorite of all the Saw movies. And he was the main character in that.
But like, I mean, you can't forget the Friday movies. Rush Hour with Jackie Chan. CB4, Cell Block 4. If you haven't seen that, it's a
Wasn't he in Lethal Weapon 4?
Yeah. And
I liked him in Longest Yard. Yeah.
So I'll tell you that he's got some good movies, but he's not that known for his movies versus stand-ups, I would say. But Chris Rock, number 4. My number 3, and we kind of brought him up a little bit. I don't think I might really have him in the top 5. Is Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
He is in there for his movies because Ace Ventura is one of my favorite movie franchises. When I was a kid, I did everything he did in those movies. I did through the sliding door, the Finkel, Einhorn Finkel.
Came out of the rhino's ass.
Coming out of the rhino's ass when Tommy Lee Tommy Lee Jones Davis had him in the backpack.
Right. That's like my dad said. Like when he took me to Ace Ventura 2, he's like, I thought he'd be talking out of his ass the whole time. He's like, it was actually pretty good.
But like liar was my favorite.
The Mask, Dumb and Dumber. Evan Almighty was an all right movie. There was nothing wrong with it, but for me, just the two Ace Ventura movies, The Mask and Dumb and Dumber alone.
You realize all those came out in the
Dumb
same
and
year
Dumber.
too.
Yeah.
94.
Dumb and
Ace
Dumber,
Ventura, The Mask,
Lord.
Dumb and Dumber. That was all the same year. It's insane.
Dumb and Dumber is probably one of my top 5 comedy favorites.
Oh yeah.
I mean, easy. That movie is like scene after scene. You're like, oh, this is hilarious. This is hilarious. This is hilarious.
Best told you that.
See that?
But even if we're talking about like serious roles, I mean, I don't know how many of y'all have seen The Majestic. That was actually a really good movie.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
It's
But I know he can.
not
I
a
know he can
comedy at all.
actually act.
Really good movie.
He was, like I said, when I was growing up and just watching like comedy movies like that, just wanting to emulate him and like that level of entertainment, doing like funny faces in certain scenes. It's a nostalgia thing for me, but great movie. So,
Teacher says if I keep making faces, I'll get stuck that way. No, it won't. And a lot of people make a lot of money doing that.
Yeah.
And I love how he like takes a shot at his own career.
my number 2 is really, it's for his stand up, but more so it's for the TV show that was of his own name. It was Dave Chappelle Show. So Dave Chappelle's my number 2. We talked about him a long time ago when we were in another episode. Every week, the day after an episode, you would come to school or wherever you were, and you would just quote a line, talk about it, and it was thought provoking, but it was also right on the line of being going over the edge.
Yeah.
But I mean, he was like Half Baked was a good movie. He was in that.
My movies?
Yes, Juice. That was a good Deep Blue Sea.
The shark ate me.
And Shark ate me. Yeah, like,
That was on my top 5.
that's right. That's right.
Robin Hood, Men in Tights.
Yes, also a classic.
Early Mel Brooks.
He was
Early
in that.
Mel Brooks.
Also a classic.
Or late Mel Brooks, early days.
But yeah, Chappelle Show by
Chappelle Show is a legendary.
Chappelle by itself
Yeah.
puts him in that list for me.
Killing Them Softly. That
Yeah,
stand up in
yeah,
2000 was
yeah.
like that's frozen in time.
Yes.
Yeah, we watched that countless times.
I had it burned to a CD, and it was a
burn CDs.
Sean must have been on a quarantine.
My guy was tearing Napster down.
I had the audio, and I used to listen to it in the blue van back in the day.
The blue van.
Blue vein.
Killing Them Softly. Yes.
With the door you needed to.
You had to
warm up,
shut it from the
shut it.
outside. You couldn't shut it from the inside. Yeah.
And to round it out, my number 1 top 5, 10 comedian, top 5, top 10 maybe actor, depending on the movies. Eddie Murphy.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Go watch any of his
Raw and
stand-ups.
hilarious. Yeah.
Go watch Delirious. Go watch any
his
stand-up.
stand-ups are
And they're legendary. But go look at the movies. Like Beverly Hills Cop,
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, Nutty
His
Professor,
career,
Boomerang, 48 Hours, another 48 Hours. Coming to America, end of discussion right there. That alone will take it.
One movie I will say that was terrible with him in it
Mhm.
was The Haunted Mansion.
Yes, it was absolute garbage.
Owen Wilson version was much better.
It's probably fair.
Yeah, but Eddie Murphy's career is spanned from the 80s all the way to
Oh, yeah.
present.
I
We
wish
haven't done
I
top
think,
5 movies or
I think
anything
The
yet,
Haunted
have we?
Mansion was just-
We haven't got to movies because usually one of my that I always spout off to say one of my favorite movies is Trading Places.
Yeah.
That's a great one.
Yeah.
Like
In
that.
fact,
Yeah.
we were talking about costumes earlier. Thinking back, one of my favorite costumes wasn't for a Halloween party, but you guys remember when I did the Prince of Kimo Zamunda costume with the crown and like the leopard print sash and all that.
Mhm.
That was because of that movie.
Did you
So
have
that
baby
was,
oil on your chest for that one?
not for that one. You couldn't tell because I had a tuxedo on,
There you go.
so you couldn't really see.
Yeah,
But
I
You just
Our-
walk around
our
with baby
dad-
oil on your chest, whether it's covered up or not.
yeah, hey, you know my life.
Todd and I's dad used to love the Beverly Hills Cop movies.
Oh, they were great.
Okay.
And
With another 48 hours and another 48 hours with Nick Nolte was also great.
yeah, I'll have to. That was the degree that I think my favorite Eddie Murphy movie was Nutty Professor. That was a classic.
The second one,
No, not as good as the first one.
he gets a pass for the second one because the first one was so good.
Right.
I don't know his number and I don't know.
Hey, Tori.
Okay,
Welcome to the pod.
But let's let's go ahead and do a shot.
What are we shooting this time?
All right. So as I mentioned, I did an eggnog for Sean's Halloween
Wait,
party,
come on,
and I mixed it with
It was
this.
delicious, by the way.
Patrick never had any, so he's lying. But me, Travis, Sean,
I was
Biff,
told it was
and
delicious.
actually really
Yeah.
validate that it was delicious. The eggnog, the pumpkin spice eggnog I made with Kavanaugh pumpkin spice Irish cream. It has some Irish whiskey in it. It's I think it made the eggnog quite
Is
scrumptious.
it the cream of some young guy?
Did you get it at Dornax?
No, I didn't get it. I actually got it from Total Wine.
Oh, how
So
nice.
Total Wine actually came through in the clutch for me.
For once.
Cool little orange bottle too. It's like it's like
Pumpkin spice color?
completely coated in orange.
It's very pumpkin.
Very
Very
pumpkin.
pumpkin-y.
So
We're gonna take a shot at
They
this.
did have Kavanaugh pumpkin spice Irish cream, but no outer space vodka.
Not in the size that Todd wanted. It likes. It wasn't big enough.
But I mean,
Hey.
you said the Lafayette's the ones
Hey.
that not have the little bottles. Little tiny alien.
Yes, they only had the minis. I know you like them bigger in the bigger size.
I do like the big heads. All right.
All right.
So
All right.
I'm going to take this shot in honor of the fallen hockey player Adam Johnson. I know we've mentioned a couple of others, Richard Mall,
Matthew Perry.
Matthew Perry.
Yeah.
Chris
There's another-
Farley. Ooh.
Shaft.
And Shaft,
Shaft,
Richard Roundtree. And
Did
Mahalia
you
Jackson.
just jizz on the microphone?
no, well, he did something on the microphone.
Oh,
So yeah, all
Mahalia
right.
Jackson.
And
to Mahalia Jackson.
shout out to all of those guys who enjoyed the balloon knot.
Oh, Lord.
cheers.
Cheers.
We shouldn't be toasting above the mic, just saying.
Wagons out.
Wagons out.